Hey everyone, we're going to get started. It's the top of the hour. We want to make sure we maximize our time here. So thank you for joining the Rhumbix Connected Construction Strategy. Webinar. So we're going to talk about construction data integrations featuring our integration partner Aedo today. So my name's Todd Elrod. I'm the technical service consultant here at Rhumbix. I'll be your host for this session. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Aedo for making this webinar possible. This is our agenda for today. You guys, I'll give you a sec to review that. During this webinar, we'll discuss the benefits of data integration in the construction industry and how Aedo and Rhumbix can help you out. So our speaker today is going to be Taylor Cavanagh. He is the Director of Client Transformation at Aedo. Taylor is an amazing guy, one of the smartest guys on this stuff, on integrations that I've ever met. We work hand in hand together. Taylor has a background in civil engineering and construction technology. He started his career working with technology enablement for a large MEP company, and currently he works with Aedo, a company specializing in advisory-led construction data solutions. In his role, he works with clients to solve problems and implement data-driven strategies. He's extremely passionate about innovation and problem solving in the construction industry. And like I said, he is so knowledgeable on this stuff, and I'm excited to have him here. Now, let's dive into our discussion. Taylor, let's get into the data integration in construction.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd, for the introduction. Always a pleasure working with Todd and the team at Rhumbix. So I'm really excited to take you guys through our webinar today on connected construction. So a little bit about Aedo before we get started. Aedo is the leading provider of advisory-led construction data solutions. So we enable businesses to transform technology and data into strategic assets. We are the guide to construction companies in their transition to becoming data-driven. We aren't just a services provider. We are really a partner expanding your bench of expertise in construction data. We were born from the industry and previously worked for a large MEP contractor back in 2019. We operate on both sides of the border, so US and Canada, and I'm actually coming from you live today from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. All right, so let's talk a little bit about integration challenges in the construction industry today. First, we have the inaccessibility/data silos. And this is really when you have multiple disconnected operation technologies, creating fragmented data and a loss of visibility. So no single source of truth for your project data. Next, we have inefficient manual processes. And this is really when data cannot be automatically moved between systems, and hands on the keyboards are required to keep systems in line, creating double and sometimes triple entry of that same information. Inadequate data quality. This is caused by inconsistent or incomplete or outdated data. So maybe someone's forgot to create something in a system downstream, or you assign time to an incorrect cost code. Limited interoperability is just a big word for difficulty integrating new and modern technologies with existing tech stack. And finally, high implementation costs. So the financial and time investment required to ensure successful integration projects. So now moving into some of the benefits of a connected system. Right? Bringing all that operational data into a common data environment has many benefits worth mentioning. First, we have improved efficiency. So accelerating the project delivery, optimizing tasks, and reducing redundancies. An example of this would be automating manual processes, saving you time and resources. Enhanced collaboration fosters that communication across teams and cooperation. Sharing documents, data is available when you need it, and you have a central area to access it. Real-time data access, enabling instant access to up-to-date project information. So being able to track your projects in real time, allowing for quicker decision-making in the field. Increased automation, streamlining those processes, automating workflows where possible. Example here is automatically syncing data between systems, reducing errors due to manual data entry. Scalability, so the ability for the system to ramp up and ramp down with project demands, adding new modules users without disrupting existing workflows. Overall, better data insights, driving informed decisions with more well-informed data analytics, leveraging that data to produce visualizations that help you run your project and again, lead to better decision-making. Enhanced security and compliance, right? Safeguarding the sensitive project data. That is how you run your company. And how do you do this? By implementing that role-based access control and security, only allowing people to see the information they need to see, depending on their role. And finally, cost savings. So the reduction in operational expenses by streamlining processes and bringing them all into one place. This should enable you to reduce duplicated work and the need for additional software licenses. So now that we understand a little bit about the benefits of connected system, we can talk about the approach. Now, the figure on the screen here shows different buckets and processes for a common data environment. We've got a couple different buckets here of operations, sales, finance, and HR and safety. And within those, the majority of your work would be in operations. Of course, you're actually doing the work in that section of the company. So to name a few, we have time cards, scheduling, forecasting, purchasing, asset management, production management. On the sales side, we have our customer management platform. We have estimating so we can win more jobs, finance, ERP, payroll, and HR and safety, that management of our employees, incident management, making sure that safety is a top priority always. Using a hub approach to integrations allows for operational data to be hosted in a common data environment. Data from all these systems are structured, stored, and made available for movement between systems. Now, when you leverage this type of integration versus a typical point-to-point, you can have your insight or your integrations actually serve you insights. So with all that data in a common environment, you could have so many more questions answered through analytics on top of your common data environment. So bringing in your labor, financial, and schedule data into one area gives you that project visibility to answer more questions than you were able to answer before. So what are some common integration use cases in construction? Now, the obvious or most popular use case, especially for this webinar here today, is time tracking and payroll. Integrating these technologies allows for companies to leverage technology built for field data collection, like Rhumbix, with their existing financial platforms, getting all the benefits of a modern timekeeping tool without the need to rip and replace a company's key financial system. On another important note is field data collecting and reporting. So getting all of that key data collected from your field into an operational reporting area, giving those project management teams updates they need, the visibility they need when they're not exactly on site 100% of the time. Project management and accounting. So surfacing those project financials into project management software, allowing for tracking of your actuals to budgets, and actually providing updated forecasts as well. Building information modeling to estimation. So actually using the BIM model to create accurate data-driven cost estimates. HR and workforce management, streamlining the onboarding and offboarding processes of trade employees, keeping systems in line and reducing or eliminating manual efforts. Procurement and inventory management, automating purchasing to inventory management systems, right? And finally, we have equipment and fleet management, standardizing where your company's high-value tools are and optimizing them for efficiencies. Let's now shift into evaluating and diagnosing. I'm going to show you a framework that can be applied to evaluate and understand issues relating to leveraging data as an asset. So introducing the Aedo data maturity framework. We use this framework in-house to diagnose and resolve 3 categories of data problems as construction companies work their way up to leveraging data as an asset. The framework is built like a pyramid, and problems at each level are normal, common, and understandable. Problems at the lower tiers can impair results at the upper. For example, we won't be jumping right into leveraging data as an asset as a first step before understanding that underlying technology stack, the integrations that move information between them, and what, if any, analytics are in place today. The magic trick in this case is when all the noise and pain or dissatisfaction among users, if you're constantly hearing about a particular technology or a faulty integration that's not doing the job it needs to be done, the magic trick here is when all the noise fades and it's actually replaced by insights and time. That's when you know things are working correctly. Now, let's dig in and talk a little bit more about each tier. Starting on the bottom tier, we have construction technology. And a solid foundation makes no noise, so neither should your tech stack. Understanding your company's unique combination of processes and tools that create, collect, and surface your company's data is extremely important. Performing a technology landscape audit to understand and document your context setup for purpose and status. Once you have that documented, assess the level of pain or dissatisfaction in each tool, keeping in mind that resolving that pain is your opportunity for improvement. Again, reducing that noise and giving you back insights and time. In order to know where you're going, you need to clearly understand how you're set up today. So take the time, understand how things are working today, and earmark what needs attention. Moving up a tier, we have system integrations. This is going to be the main focus of today's webinar, and it's all about making your technology work together seamlessly. It's important to know how integration symptoms can impact your company. Bad integrations have pain, right? You can see that in manual data entry, multiple different systems to get a single answer, slower, cumbersome processes, and an overall lack of trust in data. On the other side, well-integrated systems should improve data outcomes. It will improve the availability of data, the accuracy, the utilization, and overall build trust in the company's data. Let's take a look at some examples applied to the system integration layer. First, we have a case study on union rules. This client, like many other construction companies, have complex union rules that add complexity to their payroll processing. Business logic needs to be applied to determine the union and project zone. So in this case, business logic needs to actually be applied to determine the correct pay rate of a craft worker, depending on some set conditions. So an example of this would be the worker needs to be paid the max rate between his home region and the area that his project is based in. Our solution, the Payroll Integration Lite, seamlessly integrates with Rhumbix and allows for users to have customer managed data sets and business logic that can be applied to transform that data extract, for example, into a text, CSV, or Excel file based on the business requirements that have been laid out so that it can be easily processed by the ERP. The impact of this solution was it dramatically reduced the manual processes involved, improving the overall efficiency of processing payroll. It delivered a high impact solution at a lower cost than what a full integration would cost. And finally, it allowed for the modernization of timekeeping processes without the need for a full system overhaul. Taking a look at another example, here's a system integration. In this particular case, the client had multiple different systems that are required once a project is created. Now, at the time, it was a manual process for an administrator to create the projects and all the details that come with that in all the systems downstream. This created errors, it caused delays because data wasn't available exactly when it was needed. So it actually relied on someone to remember to go and create that project downstream. So if a project wasn't available, time couldn't be allocated, right? Maybe it would be allocated to the wrong bucket in the future, and you'd overall get a reduction in the quality of that data. Now, the solution in this case was aligning the integrations to the actual business process. For this company, the start of their project lifecycle was in their asset tracking tool. And this is because the project header, all those details about the project, was completely configurable. So it kept the most amount of information. Our integration hub solution integrated with 3 systems to automate the project, cost code, and project statuses between all these systems. And that was an asset tracking management tool, a timekeeping tool, and a project management tool. The overall impact here was streamlining the data flow across systems, but also improving the quality of that data by having project and cost codes available when they're actually needed. Eliminating that manual effort to update project downstream gave time back to the administrator, and they could focus on supporting projects more effectively. So when you're evaluating solutions, and that could be construction technology, it could be integrations, it could be a report or a dashboard, here are some questions that you should consider. First, does the solution align with your business objectives? And this one seems obvious, but we've definitely seen companies make purchases and then struggle to implement for the way their business actually works. The tool should work for you, not the other way around. So remember that. Moving on to the next one, is the solution scalable to accommodate the future? Changing systems and change management training, this is all expensive. Don't buy something that works today but won't work tomorrow. Think about the length of time that you want to use this for. Maybe the next year, the next 5 years, potentially the next 10. What is the true cost of ownership, right? So looking beyond just the licensing, understand the implementation, the maintenance, and ongoing support. Often when these decisions are made, companies will only look at the sticker price, right? They're only looking at that amount of licensing, but you need to consider what that implementation looks like. What's the maintenance, and what does support look like? You have to look at the entire cost of ownership. Can the solution integrate with your technology stack? You want to make sure that when you're purchasing technology today that it fits with your business and your tech stack. Don't buy something that's going to further complicate your current setup. It should make life easier, not harder. And finally, how customizable is the solution to fit your business needs? Can changes be made directly by the users or an administrator? Is there extra development fees? Ask these questions and know beforehand so you know what you're getting yourself into before the point of purchase. So although the main focus of this webinar is on the integrations and overall strategies, I think I'd miss the mark if I didn't completely finish the data maturity framework. So let's talk a little bit about how we design impactful insights. So we're moving up to the insights to impact tier of the data maturity framework. And this is really the focal point and building block of business progress and growth. A dashboard, report, or insight has maximum impact when it's designed for the job at hand, the job to be done. While poorly designed, one-size-fits-all, and a dog's breakfast reports actually have a loss of utility and impact, right? Throwing everything on the screen actually takes away from the impact and the job to be done by the report or dashboard. Ineffective insights can erode trust at your company, while well-designed assets should deliver benefits in perpetuity, like an annuity, right? So month over month, year over year, you're continuing to get that value delivered to your business on that initial investment. Finally, near the top of the data maturity framework, we have the concept of investment strategy. And this is really about making sure the business impact is greater than the overall investment, right? So the impact here is improved decision-making, enhanced customer service, gaining that competitive advantage, and being able to mitigate risks. The investment here is your investment in data maturity. And that can be in construction technology, it can be in integrations, it could be in data insights and analytics. you need to look at the entire time horizon when you consider it as an investment, right? It may feel like a high initial cost when you're only looking at over 1 year. But just like that insight we just talked about, it's going to continue delivering that value year over year. So think about the entire time horizon and aim for a 2x or 3x return. And in all honesty, if I'm working with a customer and I don't see that they're going to get value and the return on investment they need, I'll be fully transparent and let them know, because we want to be able to stand behind the work that we do, right? We're not just that services provider. We are a member of the team on the journey with you. So your integration strategy really becomes your data strategy. And here are the Aedo data strategy principles. First, love the problem. Be insanely curious. Understand the problem, who it's impacting. Quantify the actual impact of that problem. And understand the best and worst case of resolving it. 2, business objectives drives data strategy. You want to make sure that any strategy is aligned with the actual objectives and goals of your business. It should 100% be aligned with the goals of that business. 3 is understanding and diagnosing the data maturity. So understand how you are set up on construction technology, integrations, insights, and strategy. 4, that concept of investment strategies, looking at the math behind making sure the impact outweighs the cost and looking at that over time, shifting away from the cost mentality into I'm investing in this value that I'm going to continue to get over time. And 5 is that clarity, confidence, and alignment across teams, cross-functional teams. Get the IT, leadership, and operations all in one room, focused on that outcome, creating that strategy that's aligned to your business objectives. And don't just take it from me. If you haven't had any time to fully read the 100-page Harnessing the Data Advantage in Construction report by Autodesk and FMI, they had 4 key takeaways. The first was get a single point of focus, similar to our love the problem. 2, get buy-in, right? So get that buy-in across teams. Bring everyone into one area and be focused on that output. Standardize data capture across projects. So you can actually start making comparisons and being able to take value from that data once you're actually able to compare them on an even playing field. 4, keeping that project data in a common environment. This 4th point should really bring home the concept of connected construction that we've been talking about all throughout the session today. So now that you've heard all this, you're probably thinking, okay, great, but how do I get started? How do I actually take those next steps? Right? And again, it depends on your company. It depends on how you're set up. There's really 2 paths here, depending on what type of organization you are and at what stage you are in your data-driven journey. You always have that option to do it yourself if you've got the team in-house. And here's a few points on how you can actually get started, right? Assess the current technology stack. Understand how you're set up, who's using what, and how it's going. Understand how your integrations are working today, right? Do a quick assessment. Understand the pain points of the actual users in the field or the office. Define your business goals for integration. This is really about making sure any of your planning efforts are tied back to that business strategy. Identify stakeholders and get them all in one place. And it's important that this is cross-functional, right? You want to make sure you have operations at the table with leadership and IT. And 4, take the steps to actually create that plan. The other option here is for companies that don't have those resources in-house. Get a partner. There are plenty of partners out there that can help you on this path. We are one of them. At Aedo, we do a lot of these, what we call integration consults, which gives you that clarity and confidence in order to take the next step in your journey, right? So with this advisory-led construction data solutions, through that consult, we get really clear on the job to be done. We get to paint success for what will actually look like when it's implemented, and then give your teams the clarity and confidence to proceed. And if you're unsure on which path to take, you could do a hybrid approach as well, right? Raise your hand, ask for help, see what's out there. Awesome. So thank you so much for getting through all the content here with me today. I think we're going to get into some QA here. So I'll invite Todd back up, and we'll start to take a look at any questions that have been asked in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to open it up for Q&A. As questions start coming through, we'll prioritize those and we'll pass those over to Taylor so he can answer them. Some of the things that have come up, like that we've seen kind of working with clients, is they have outdated ERP systems, or the ERP systems don't have kind of modern APIs to help with integrations. What's something that like our participants can do to help support that, kind of leverage a solution that works for them and with their ERP system?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great question, because I actually do a lot of work with Todd on this specifically. And it's really about, how do I get to leverage those modern timekeeping data capture tools like Rhumbix with my existing ERP? There's solutions available to you. Particularly in-house, we have what we call the payroll integration light solution. It allows you to integrate with the time card, contribute that extra missing data, for example, that union study or union rules case study we looked at, and actually create that extract file that you can then take and import directly to your ERP. So that's what we call an integration light solution. It's basically designed for this exact use case where you still need someone to actually put hands on the keyboard, put it in there, but it greatly simplifies all the work that you need to do to prepare that file. There's also new integration techniques out there. There's concepts like robotic process automation, RPA, you may have heard of. And that's really a robotic hands on the keyboard simulating the actual acts of the users and facilitating that integration. So if you've got a question on if something can be integrated, I always love to have conversations. Like I said, or like we said at the beginning, very passionate about problem solving in the construction industry. So if you've got a question, I'd love to have a conversation and figure out how we simplify that through an integration.
Yeah, great. No, I love the integration light solution. What I've seen, and I've seen it used with multiple clients, is basically where we use Rhumbix data, pull Rhumbix data, utilizing your guys' integration light solution, and then you're able to bring in different sources that are client specific and combine those to be an uploadable CSV into those ERPs, which is amazing. It streamlines the whole process, and it's working in the background in a cloud base. And so it can even expand with your company if you're not planning on changing ERPs, which I know can be costly and very, very, I guess, cumbersome change or transition. And we want to make it as easy as possible. So also kind of like along that same lines, like I know construction, they're rapidly adopting technology, but still behind a little bit. Like, what are some challenges that are facing data integration in the construction industry, and how can we kind of advise on how to overcome some of those?
Yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the construction industry right now is saturated by so many different types of technologies, and it's actually created that data silo concept that we talked about at the beginning, right? You have so many different places to go to look for data, and you can't just go to one place and get an answer. So I think that one of the biggest issues right now is the amount of tools that are out there that have all kind of promised that silver bullet, this, once you have this, everything's going to work out. It's not always the case, right? So what you really need to do is tap into all those systems, bring in all the data to one place, and be able to actually answer questions by aggregating these different data sources. That's kind of one thing, Todd. But another thing that I wanted to mention here was, a lot of times, and I mentioned this previously, we have customers that have made these significant investments in tools and not fully gotten their full, promised ROI back. And, leaning into those problems with the tools, you can kind of start investigating, what needs to be done. So was it the implementation that needed more attention, or do users not fully understand that, this workflow is simplifying it for them? I mean, a lot of my experience at the beginning of my career was, roll out these new softwares and convince everyone how to use it. And, what I found after doing it enough times is everyone needs something in it for them. So like come to the users with the actual benefits on how this is going to simplify their life. Just giving them a tool and expecting everything to get easy for them isn't always the case. It often complicates things. So, we want to frame it in like, what's in it for them? How can they use this tool to change the way that they work and get better?
No, I agree 100%. I come from the construction industry too, large MEP contractor and saw technology, kind of that change management process. And as we transition to kind of iPads and off paper, I saw foremen just throw the iPad down in front of me and like, I'm not going to do this. This is pointless. I've, been in the industry for 30 years. Why am I going to transition to this too? Like, not 2 months later, him being like, hey, look what I can do on this iPad after you like continue to show them, hey, how this can benefit them and kind of improve their daily living, and also give them immediate feedback. And that's another question that I know that a lot of clients have is, hey, how can integrations help provide me with immediate feedback? And how have you seen that through kind of your experience with construction?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that a lot of the frustration with these tools is like, yeah, this is great when things are working perfectly in a vacuum, right? But then I'm on site and I get to my project and, I have a change order, for example, and a new cost code needs to be created and no one's done that work yet. We see that pretty often where through this particular use case, I can't charge time for a new set of work without putting in the wrong bucket and moving it over after the fact. So, with an integration, for example, when you actually create that, new code to track costs for this change, it will automatically be available to the foreman in the field, right? So that's kind of just one example of how you can start to use integrations in that case. Also, the other side of the coin here is there's so much good data being collected from the field, whether it's leveraging your field form solution, doing those daily reports, all that data is awesome and it's collected. But once we start bringing it into an area that I can pull up my project management dashboard and know what's going on the site, that's when I start seeing the benefits of integrations. So, lots of tools do that data collection side really well. And then, lots of other tools do the insights really well. Now it's just about making sure the information is in the systems when they need to do the job that they need to do. Right. And going back to something you said earlier, I just wanted to mention, it's funny, my first role right out of university was like, here's a stack of 100 iPads, go and meet every foreman in Ottawa and teach them all how to use it. Right. And I saw it all from throwing it at the desk to, throwing it down the hall. But what I found was the second you could start to have, like, first of all, speak their language, but also have foremen teaching other foremen how to actually use it and all the cool things that they can do, then they start listening. Right. So yeah, hopping back on that question, but I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, that's good. Talk about some of kind of the analytics stuff that you're seeing kind of emerging from the construction industry that helps support foremen, helps support project managers, and also people in the exec team, like some of the dashboards and stuff that's being built, and then specifically information that's brought in for Rhumbix, and like how you kind of see that emerge and how you see clients take that and run and be able to, like you said previously, they're leading in the field. So,
Yeah.
and getting, I guess they're proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. Like, you guys do that data collection side so well that once all that data is put into place, we can start looking at like insights that we can get from labor. So there's, a million different questions that we can answer on just timekeeping data. We start to look at the manpower curves of the project on one particular project, but then we start stacking those for labor managers who are in charge of making sure that we've got enough resources to execute all the work that we have. Right. So taking in all that data of who's where is so helpful in terms of allocating the actual laborers to the projects and ensuring we have enough people at the time to get the work done. I always like to think like there's so much power in the data on the time card side, and it's very impactful when you're looking at it at the project or even zone of the project or even cost code level. But then even taking it up a layer and start to look at the aggregation of that data, so I can know that, all my special projects, have this many workers and we're on track because all of our next schedules are in one area. So I think the power is bringing in all that data into one area, and you start to mix in the labor data with the cost data and the scheduling data, and give you that full view of the project. So yeah, I feel like the data collection side on labor is super impactful. I've also seen some cool stuff that can be done with your T&M. So T&M tracking. So actually understanding, of these tickets, how many have gone through and where are they all at and who's ball in court and have they been priced or not? There's so many different insights that can be derived from that. That's just one part of the platform, right? So the real power here is bringing it all into one area and then understanding, who's this actual report for? Is it for the project manager? Is it for the executive in the office? And not over engineering the amount on one screen. We see it all the time. I think last week we had a webinar event and we talked about this concept of spaghetti against the wall data reports. And that's really when you throw so much at the report that the user really just struggles on like what they need to do with that information, right? So bring it all into one area, keep it simple, design for the actual user, and leverage great technologies like Rhumbix to collect and structure that data.
Awesome. Okay, so we have questions coming in. Like, what is the what are some emerging trends that you see in integration and technology, specifically in the construction industry? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing now is kind of this concept of like some of the newer technologies, kind of that concept of we can't do it all. So let's allow our platform to play nicely with other platforms, right? So what we've seen a lot recently is the concept of having open APIs available where, if we don't have a solution to your problem, one of our partners can develop that for you, right? And you guys have done a really good job of that. And it's kind of, what we've seen previously is that scarcity mindset of like, no, you can't have our clients because we need to have them all. It's like, we all know we can't do everything, right? But if we have this open information share, then we're really focusing more on the benefit to the customer instead of the benefit to the company, which is really important and something that we talk a lot about here at Aedo. We're not selling a single platform, we're selling that partner on your journey, the best advice that sets you up in order to make the right decisions for your company. So I think what we'll see a lot more emerging trend is this concept of, open APIs, the ability to create those custom integrations, but also kind of partners that can play nice with different systems and integrate through more of that hub approach that we talked about in this webinar today.
Yeah, do you see kind of, as I've seen in the industry, kind of, why can't you create it all and be perfect? Mm-hmm. I guess, both the construction and technology industry, and a lot of time in the construction industry, you could throw more manpower at something and get a project done quicker, but we necessarily can't see that in the tech industry. What are your kind of views and thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean that's a good point. Like, let's just throw a bunch of manpower at it and we'll just get it done. We'll be able to do everything. Yeah, we could potentially do that, right? Everyone could do that. But I feel like once you start to focus on everything a little bit, you lose the quality and purpose for what you're actually trying to do. So we could do everything a little bit, but we could do a couple things amazingly and really change the way your business works. I'd rather be a part of the team that's more focused on doing, a few things incredibly that delivers that value versus the other approach, which is let's do everything kind of okay and hope for hope that everything's going to work out for the best.
Yeah, no, and that's what I see across the technology industry, kind of how that is, you only have a certain number of I guess, developers and stuff that you can put on something and
Yeah.
you can hire to stay within your kind of your realm, and I guess within your budget as well. So it's like, hey, get that niche, that focus, and that's kind of the ideal route so that you're good at that. And in the construction industry, we see that as well. So yeah, like somebody said, unicorns don't exist yet. But that's where integrations come from and are really powerful, is because we have companies, and the construction industry overall is kind of inundated with a lot of new kind of construction technology that's coming out. But yeah, open APIs and everybody playing nice and moving from that scarcity mindset is going to be key and ideal. So moving forward. So one other question that we have, we're going to start wrapping it up here. So how can data integration help kind of improve the collaboration between different teams and stakeholders within a company? That's kind of something that's coming in right now too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that collaboration is big in terms of, with the way that it used to operate, you might only get a report when your finance person was available after payroll, and it was maybe a week, a half delayed, and not kind of that real-time view of what the project is at. So when we make that data available to project teams, they can make decisions in real time and be able to mitigate those risks and change up the crews if need be, and raise their hand and ask for help. So you definitely see like an increase in collaboration just by having that information available as soon as it hits any of the platforms, versus, maybe today it's going to update payroll, and then you're probably only going to see a job cost report a week and a half out. And depending on the size of the project, you may have seen hundreds of thousands of labor hour or labor dollars flow through your project, and you're not able to get ahead of that and resolve that in real time. Thanks so much for the time, everyone, and hope you enjoyed this conversation.